Thank you for having me. I'd first like to start off by congratulating all the Emirati women on International Women's Day. It's very special to be here today because the UAE has been a true champion for women. Just last week, the World Bank released the new Women, Business and the Law report, in which the UAE continues to hold its leadership position as the most advanced country in the Middle East and North Africa on women's legal equality. So this has been unprecedented. We have seen a very fast pace of reform here in UAE over the last 2-3 years. The government has enacted a very ambitious package of reforms which have put the UAE in this leadership spot. And just to give you a few examples, the UAE is the first country in the Middle East to introduce parental leave for fathers. It introduced non-discrimination in employment, equal pay for work of equal value. It lifted all industry restrictions on women. It introduced non-discrimination in access to credit, among other reforms. And in addition to the legal reforms, we have also seen mandates on women to be part of corporate boards, equality for women in the judiciary, and others. So these have been very ambitious and very well implemented reforms here in UAE. So people often ask me, why does it matter? Why is it so important to open up opportunities for women? And of course, the main argument is about equity. We want everybody to be treated equally. But what's also very important, and also for policymakers, is the fact that it's smart economics. And if you look across the Middle East, you see how the UAE really stands out. Women's labor force participation in the UAE is at 56%, compared to about 19% on average for the Middle East and North Africa. And why do we see that? Because the UAE has been such a champion of reform, opening up a lot of opportunities for women. So it does translate into more inclusive growth and into greater prosperity for the country. I would also like to point out that here in the UAE, we have great champions of reform amongst the government. I would specifically like to thank the Gender Balance Council and the Federal Competitiveness and Statistics Center for their leadership on the gender agenda. We at the World Bank have had a very productive partnership with them around the design and implementation of reforms. But what's even more important now is that the UAE is taking a leadership role within the region to help other countries implement similar reform programs. We recently launched a new platform called the Gender Center for Excellence, which is going to be a hub for reforms. It will serve as a platform for the UAE to share all the great experiences in implementing reforms here in UAE, but also bring in global good practices from other countries, and most importantly, work in a very practical way with policymakers from around the region and even beyond the region to help them design and implement similar reform programs. So I would really like to congratulate the UAE on taking on this leadership role and looking beyond its own borders to support others in empowering women, opening up opportunities for them both as employees and as entrepreneurs. And we at the World Bank continue to stand ready to support these initiatives. It has been a very special partnership and a very successful one. Again, I would like to thank the leadership of the Gender Balance Council, Her Highness Sheikha Manal, Her Excellency Mona Al-Mari, who have been at the forefront of driving reforms. We not only worked with them on the design and implementation of the reforms in UAE, but also in launching this new platform, the Gender Center for Excellence, which will support the whole region. I would also like to point out that this partnership has been successful for a few reasons. The first one is we really worked as one team. It wasn't the GBC and the World Bank. It was one team, united by a common goal, a common objective, and that was seamless. The second one is really the power of leadership. I mean, without the strong leadership of the UAE, we could not have achieved what was achieved here. I would also like to point out another success factor, which was the power of coordination. Gender reform cuts across many sectors. Many entities have to be involved in the design and implementation of reform. So both the Gender Balance Council and the Federal Competitiveness and Statistics Center were such a catalyst, an accelerator of bringing in all the right entities, coordinating, making sure that everyone who needed to be involved, all the stakeholders were on board. So that was another very important success factor. And from the World Bank side, we bring in the power of data. Our report comes out every year and it offers comparative data across the world, which offers very actionable ideas on what can be done to improve the environment for women. We also bring experience from around the world. We know what works and what doesn't in implementing reform programs around women empowerment. And of course, we have a convening power that helps in bringing in all the stakeholders and also bringing in others from around the globe. So all parties brought a lot to the table, and that was sort of at the core of the success. Thank you for this question. We're in a very important year here in the UAE. We all know the UAE will be the host of COP28, and we expect that the COP will be the most inclusive COP in the history of COPs. So we're now in the process of developing a new partnership between the COP28 team and the World Bank around the Women and Climate agenda. It's a very important one, and as you know, women are being affected by climate change disproportionately. So they're suffering more than men as the climate worsens. So what we hope to do is to change the state of women from being the victims of climate change to being the change makers going forward. And as we develop this new partnership and think through about what can be done, this will be one of our overall objectives, to turn women from victims to change makers in the climate change agenda.